The idea was to have a bunch of characters from a variety of Nintendo franchises and put them all together in a fighting game. But instead of trying to deplete a character's life bar to win, you're supposed to knock them off the board, with each hit raising the chance that they go flying off. Add in a bunch of different items to spice things up, like Pokeballs, ray guns, beam swords, baseball bats, and giant hammers. You've got a recipe for insanity. It started off with 8 characters. Fast forward 20 years, and now the roster consists of over 75 from franchises that go beyond Nintendo. This madcap insanity we know as Super Smash Bros. Has kept us gleefully entertained with something for just about everybody. So how has this craziness kept going for 2 decades and several console generations? We're going to dive into the frenzy of this awesome franchise next on DLC. One and all out there on the wide world of the internet, welcome to Downloadable Content. I am Brian, and with me we have my co-host Ron.
Hey everyone.
We have Ronnie.
Hi.
We have Wyatt from Sprites and Dice.
Hello, hello.
And making his DLC debut right here on Season 9, we have Carlos.
Hello.
Welcome, one and all. Nice to start off our 9th year of downloadable content with fresh meat and talking about this great franchise. Yes?
Brian, I just needed to start early and correct you. There were actually 12 characters in the original Smash. It's just that 8 of them were starting and then 4 were unlockable.
We're not going to get anywhere fast, are we?
No.
We're not
Have you been on a podcast before?
Oh, yeah.
Well, my intro was correct. You do start off with 8.
Oh, okay. We're going to play it that way?
Yes, I am going to play it that way. So there. So we haven't even gotten 2 minutes into Season 9, and here comes Ronnie.
I got to keep my reputation.
You do have to keep your reputation. So before we dive into our 20th anniversary episode talking about Super Smash Bros., just want to remind everyone out there that every single episode of downloadable content can be found on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and also our website, www.dlcpodcast.com. You can also check the schedule for upcoming recordings. You can let us know if you want to be in on any of those. You can also click the feedback button and give us ideas for future episodes. You can also check us out on our Facebook, Downloadable Content, and Twitter at DL Content. So all the different ways to get in touch with us, all the different ways to get downloadable content into your ears. Take that as you will. But let us dive right into the subject at hand, which is Super Smash Bros., which, as I was thinking about what episodes I wanted to do for Season 9, I knew that I wanted to do an episode for Super Smash Bros. Because I knew it was hitting its 20th anniversary, and thinking to myself, wait a minute, the N64 was just 5 years ago, right? Right?
And it's shortly after the release of possibly the largest Smash Brothers.
Yeah, so I'm just like, it's N64, that's 5 years ago. Guys, oh, great, it came out when I was 13. Damn it.
Yep.
Damn it. And
when, what was it, about a day or two before this most recent one came out, I found myself inspired to actually, I wasn't expecting to write this article, so I banged it out in about 4 or 5 hours, and I was not expecting to do it, where I I realized how much of my life has kind of grown up alongside Smash Brothers, and how it was kind of a very weird way to kind of define who I was during those individual times. So that was a really fun article to write, because it has been around for 20 years. So I had it back before I started college, through college, and into my adult life, and how it kind of filled a different place every single time.
That was kind of the reason why I decided to make Smash Brothers the season opener.
That was a really interesting article, by the way.
Thank you.
Well done.
I mean, anyone can talk about why a game is good or bad, or divvy up why one Smash Brothers is better than the other. But for me, that's in some way. I know this is going to sound bad for people that have more competitive urges, but for me, that wasn't as important as kind of just remembering what it meant to me as a human, as someone who plays games and has played games for most of their life. Like, starting from a point where I played video games because I didn't have any friends, because I was in high school and an asthmatic. And then I went to college and I had a ton of friends, and it was a way to gather with friends. And, like that kind of continuation, I find it really interesting. We have all these 20-year or 25-year, dear Lord, or 15-year kind of milestones for these big gaming franchises, and you think about, where was I back when this game started?
I was going to say, it was very interesting, because you're just looking at you, because you go very much into your perspective and what the game meant to you.
Right.
And just seeing that, because it's... I come into fighting games in a very different manner than a lot of people, because I'm an exclusively single-player gamer. I generally don't play with friends. I absolutely don't play online. So the only Smash that I really have multiplayer experience in is the original 64 Smash. Everything other than that, it's me doing the single-player modes, but I still get a lot of time out of them. But it means that I come into this whole thing from a very different angle than most people. So reading your perspective in it, it helped me kind of understand, like, other reasons that people come into the franchise.
Oh, cool. That's really awesome.
From my perspective, this game has been, for me, it's been, I don't know, I'm a huge Nintendo nerd, so to see everything kind of combined into one, that was what drew me to the game initially. And if you look at the N64 game and you look at how it is now, it's clearly, like, it's a beast. But, looking at the old game and spending time with my brother and my sister, my cousins, we get together and just play it. And then in college, when Melee came out, playing through that, and then there was the aspect of adding in that single-player mode, as you said, that kind of makes you feel like, you can play the game on your own and get through it. And that's kind of what I've enjoyed about the game, is that, it's for everybody. It's not just for playing it as a group setting. You can also play it individually. It kind of goes both ways, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
Right.
But to me, it's just those Nintendo characters and putting them all in, like, just throwing them all in to one arena and having them duke it out, was a big draw for me from the get-go.
Talking about that, how about that damn commercial?
I love that freaking commercial so damn much.
Nothing says awesome like watching Pikachu get punched in the face.
Like, that was... I don't think anybody had expected that, and... I mean, it certainly piques your interest in the game.
So, like, here's the thing, is that a lot of my Smash Brothers experience going... I mean, this is kind of moving forward, but a lot of my Smash Bros. Experience, and a lot of ours, was playing it in college with other people. And I remember seeing the competitive scene kind of build up around this game, right? Where people became more and more, who's better, who's the best. This is when you have the start of esports in a lot of ways, is built around Smash Brothers' rise in some areas, or kind of popularized it before League of Legends and otherwise, right? So you have that kind of build, and as games come out, you have more hype as the internet builds. And the internet kind of builds hype, and people are like, what character's going to come out when it's not? That's when you have the hilarious things like, where's Waluigi? You have the where the heck is Ridley going on? And then Ridley comes out and the entire internet loses their damn mind, and you have all that stuff happening. When the first Smash Brothers came out, it kind of came up out of nowhere, number one. Number two, there was no internet hype, so people didn't really see it coming. And number three, I think that's the first commercial I ever saw for a video game.
Well, interestingly enough, I think the gap for the original Smash Brothers and the one for Melee was the shortest gap out of all the games that have come out. So
Right, only 2 years.
yeah.
Holy.
So
Like, sorry.
So I remember, and Brian, you probably remember this too, when we were sitting there, in high school, and we were watching like the opening cinematic for Flipping Out because they added in like Zelda and Ganondorf and Sheik and freaking like all these other characters, and it's crazy.
It absolutely is, and just the amount of hours that we all collectively sank. Like, I know we're going to get into every single game, and there's only 5 of them, but that's just the amount of hours, and just I cut my teeth for fighting games. I cut my teeth on Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Those are my 2 major fighting games of choice growing up. My parents didn't care that, blood, guts, and gore. But
Street Fighter Alpha for me.
Yeah, so diving into this game to Super Smash Brothers, where there's no life bars. All right, what the hell are these percentages that are on the bottom of the screen? And figuring out the mechanics of that game. They're like, oh, you're not trying to deplete a life bar. Your goal is to actually send players off the stage.
If I remember correctly, Sakurai originally worked on the game. His original intention was to create a fighting game that was accessible to everyone, that wouldn't intimidate people, because too many people didn't want to go into the arcades. They were intimidated by these experienced players. So this is supposed to be a home game that anybody could pick up and play.
Which is kind of ironic now that we know where it's gone, but we'll digress to that. Well, that's a whole other can of worms, but
I still think that Sakurai, the spirit that Sakurai wanted of these games, is still there. Though you have competitive gaming, but at the same time,
I totally agree.
At the same time, this game is very simplistic. It's not like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat where you have to execute a combo to get it to do a special ability. Here, you just press a B button in a certain direction. So go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, I think that in essence is what can anybody can play this game. It's not you don't have to be, except if you're playing Ken or Ryu, which we'll probably talk about a little later, but you can still execute the combos with those 2, but for the mass majority of them, the combos is based on what sequence of buttons you hit, but you don't need it to execute a special ability just to be super annoying and edge guard somebody.
Yeah, every single character has the same exact set of buttons. It's like you press a certain button combination for every single character, it's going to do something. And that's exactly right. That whole idea of accessibility. Whereas, a game like Mortal Kombat, where my stepbrother and I would we would buy the physical strategy guides so that we would know what buttons to press for Scorpion or Sub-Zero or Raiden. You don't have to do that with Smash Brothers, which made it very easy to just go in and button mash.
Yep. Even with the quote unquote fatalities that they put into the game, which are basically the final smashes, you hit an item and you get it. It's not like you have to execute some ridiculous combo to do, a certain type of fatality or a babality or an animality or whatever you may have for Mortal Kombat.
Looking back on it, it's amazing that like the initial the groundwork for the first Smash, which basically had all the basics that we think of now, were done by 2 people, Sakurai and Satoru Iwata, who become 2 of the most influential people in video games. And this whole game, the basic demo of the game that they brought to Nintendo, which includes all of the stuff we think of as Smash, was all done by those 2 people. And that's amazing.
I think one thing that going back to kind of my article and where I was going with it was one thing that I don't think people give enough credence to is just how different it was when the first game came out, because the internet's become so pervasive. So yeah, we weren't pouring over rule books to come up with strategies for the first game, and even the second game. The second game had so much more depth than the first one, but you weren't pouring through guidebooks to try to figure out every single move because it was easier to figure out those moves on their own. But you were trying to figure out, are there secret characters? How do you unlock them? And then the other thing is that because there wasn't the internet, you didn't always feel like you had to compete with everyone. Like, oh, look, this other person did this much better, or this other. You kind of had your own personal bubble whenever you played a video game, which, in some ways, I really miss. I really miss that that experience of kind of having your own personal world that you were in when you were playing a game. So if your team had Mewtwo, and you'd go up over your friends' house, like, wait, how do you unlock? This is the second game, sorry. Or what's a better example? You would unlock Jigglypuff. They'd be like, oh my god, how do you unlock Nest or Jigglypuff? And you'd kind of have to like figure it out together. There was a lot more of a collaborative effort, and it wasn't even competitive on the scale of, oh, did you unlock everything? Did you have all the trophies? The first games were simple in a good way.
I agree with you, and that's one thing that I'll we'll talk about it a little bit later. But with the most recent game, that's the one thing I actually didn't like, because they made it it was too easy to unlock everything, and it just felt like the goal for me was just to get all of them unlocked because I wanted to play with all of them, not to actually have, oh, you do a certain thing and this character shows up, or you do a certain thing another way and this character shows up.
Go unlock them all through World of Light like I did.
That's what I did.
Well, to kind of steer things back to the beginning of the very first game, so for those that are unaware, the game came out in 1999, and I think most of us were like freshmen in high school, or I was in 7th grade when that game came out.
Yeah, 1999 puts me right at freshman year of high school. Yes, that was a long time ago. And just, again, no internet. So my greatest memories of the original game is just having 3 additional friends come over and just going hours with these 12 characters, and 8, and then you get the 4 unlockables. But just like the amount of hours you waste them, and you have your starting 12. So Captain Falcon, Donkey Kong, Fox, Jigglypuff, Kirby, Link, Luigi, Mario, Ness, Pikachu, Samus, and Yoshi. So,
and the fact that they had Ness in there when he was pretty much unknown in the US at the time, like a couple people knew him from playing Earthbound. I played Earthbound before 64, but I know the majority of the people I knew had no idea who he was.
I was definitely there. I'm like, who the fuck's Ness?
Yep, I exactly the same thought. I didn't know who the hell. I'm like, who the hell is this kid? What is this?
Like the kids on my street, we all knew because I had Earthbound and I'd lent it around, so all of my little group of friends on the street all knew Ness because we'd all played it from that. But at school, no one had any idea who Ness was.
I knew just because of the fact that I had played Earthbound too, and as soon as I saw Ness, I'm like, oh my god, this character actually existed in the large game, and it isn't just confined to this little SNES cartridge from 5 years ago. That at the time I didn't appreciate how lucky I was that I had it.
Mm.
I just want to know who the hell decided to put Jigglypuff in the game.
Somebody with taste.
Yeah.
I just out of all of the Pokemon, because the TV show was big 99, right? So out of all of the Pokemon, I mean, like, you had Charizard, you had Squirtle, you had Bulbasaur. Obviously, Pikachu was already in the game, so that's besides the point. But Jigglypuff.
Here's the thing: if you think Jigglypuff was one of the out of the first generation, I think was in the top 3 for most popular Pokemon in Japan, and the character had kind of exploded because of the anime, because outside of Pikachu, the recurring Jigglypuff in the first couple seasons was like a really one of the more iconic.
Yeah, the goddamn Jigglypuff from the first couple seasons of the anime was just was always a thing, because as soon as it shows up, you just know give it about 30 seconds and someone's going to get your feet on their face.
Yeah.
I also found it hilarious that nobody knew what Jigglypuff's down B did for like the first month of that game. You're like,
because
he just falls asleep.
No internet. There's no internet. You had to figure out everything on your damn own, and it was a wonderful feeling.
I just remember pressing it by accident and then launching my brother, and he's like, "What the hell did you just do?" I'm like, "I have no idea." But
Right, and then you spend like 6 minutes like poking the buttons, like someone explain to me what's going on. Like you're trying to desperately figure it out with your friends.
it's the most.
You're trying to recreate that effect like 4, 5, 6 times, and you can't do it.
He was the most broken character in the first game.
I had that same sort of what the fuck feeling when I figured out Luigi's up B.
The launch.
Yeah, when suddenly I'm playing against the computer, and I'm playing Luigi, and Luigi does that to me. I'm like, what? Huh? What the? How did I go? How am I out at 30%? What the hell happened?
Someone please explain to me. Yeah, exactly.
Because, we all know Luigi as the second fiddle. If you look up the phrase second fiddle, you see a picture of Luigi. He is the long-suffering character. So, I felt like the developers gave that to Luigi to finally throw him a frickin' bone.
You're not wrong.
And Jigglypuff the same, because my favorite character, and still to this day, it's still my best character, is Kirby. So every time I played Jigglypuff, I'd go out at an obscenely low percent because, yes, Jigglypuff has an incredibly powerful move, but he's also a kickball.
Let's say, going back to the behind-the-scenes stuff, like, Sakurai, when he did the first Smash, only had done 3 games before. Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure, and Kirby Superstar. How the hell did he actually get Nintendo to sign off on letting them use the character? Like, that's the kind of thing where I look at and I'm like, I mean, well done, but I don't know if Nintendo would take that kind of risk nowadays.
Okay, here's why. Because Nintendo's cast at the time was literally... So, think about the cast of Nintendo characters at the time. So you had Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Samus,
Pikachu,
Captain Falcon, literally other than Pikachu and Jigglypuff. Pretty much every single one on that thing comes from either Legend of Zelda or Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, it's kind of like that now too.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, even then, Nintendo was still super protective of their properties, and they'd already been burned by the CDI stuff already. And yes, HAL was, working directly with Nintendo's difference there, but, still, it could not have been easy for him to get the rights to be able to get the permission to be able to do this stuff.
I see what you're talking about.
Yep. Nintendo likes to hold on to their stuff, as we've seen in the last couple years, where they basically shut people down.
But
So-
I mean, Sakurai was still internal; he'd worked with Kirby, so there was at least that.
Yeah, well, he created Kirby.
Exactly, and every so often you do see that they suddenly open their doors and let other people in. For example, Rabbids versus
That's a great
Mario and Rabbids, yeah.
which
I mean-
came out of nowhere. But every so often, when they see someone that they like and they like their style, they're like, you know what? Come on in, the water's fine. And everyone goes, wait, really?
Yeah.
Because it's rare, but they do it.
Well, also, Iwata was the other person who was behind Sakurai's brainchild that was working with him the whole way, and I think, even though at that point Iwata wasn't exactly a bigwig in the company, I feel like had built up enough trust in Nintendo that I think him throwing his weight behind the game was probably what pushed it over the...
I can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys were talking earlier about how you had, a 2-year time in between 64 and Melee?
Yeah.
One of the things I was reading up on this, and I mean, I knew about this before, but seeing the quote really put it into perspective. Sakurai did 40 hours straight working, then would sleep 4 hours, and then go back to work. And that's what he had to do to get Melee, and it nearly killed him.
I feel like every game he says that it nearly kills him.
Yeah, but that was, let's put it this way, from everything I've seen about all of them, Melee was the worst. Melee was the one where he didn't have enough support staff behind him for what he was trying to do. So he was trying to make up for it out of his own blood, and that never goes well.
Well, I mean, if we... Go ahead, please.
If you think about it, he had how many characters did he add to the roster in Melee?
What,
he added
26?
He doubled it, right? So
Yes,
he doubled what was
26,
in the roster. So it was all him in 2 years. He had to double. Who knows how long it took him to make the initial game, but probably that. Think about that. He had to basically double the game in 2 years. So yeah, I would imagine that would be a ridiculous amount of time that has to be spent trying to get that done.
Yeah, and completely change the... I mean, not completely change the style, but I mean, there's a reason that Melee is still the one that everyone goes back to. Like, the complexity of the fighting system in that game, none of the others have matched it. Intentionally, Sakurai has deliberately tried not to, because he feels like it's too... not too complex for casual gamers, but it's intimidating for new people coming into it. So he's never tried to hit that. But still, like, there's a reason that so many people, that's the game that's still being played competitively alongside whatever the most recent is.
I think definitely part of that comes down to a few things. One is, and let's wrap it all up. So Sakurai, one reason why is if you ever play the first game next to Melee, the speed difference of how the game is being played because of the console difference and everything else is night and day.
Yeah.
Like the frame rate speed of how the characters move. I remember playing Melee and then trying to go back to the first game, and it felt like I was moving underwater. It felt like I was swimming underwater when I was trying to play that game.
Yeah, I completely get that. I get those feels.
So that's number one. Number two, you are doubling that, and at this point, Smash Brothers, the first game, is sort of like a cult hit. Like, it's a fun oddity that everyone thought was a one-off, and I think even Nintendo probably thought it was a one-off at that point. Like, okay, we have this novel new thing, but where can it go from here? So it didn't have this kind of status as a mainstream game yet. It was Melee that jumped it. It was Melee that it was its killer app that opened up the competitive market, that opened up the possibilities as game consoles became really powerful during that time period. So there's definitely a shift.
And for how long it took to make as well, keep in mind, Melee is where we really got a thorough adventure mode. Where, yeah, the original had a single player, but there was very little to it. Melee is really where it got an actual single player campaign.
Yeah.
Right.
It was the adventure mode in that one, right?
Yep. Adventure mode.
Also, I just want to point this out. I was double checking for my own memory. The GameCube came out in North America, for reference, in late November. Double checking my history here. North America, November 18th. 3 weeks later, Melee comes out.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Melee is the best-selling GameCube game of all time.
I can double check that. I'm sure Brian could too, but just for a moment, just consider, just throw your mind back to 2001. Just like have the TARDIS break engage whirring sound in your head. And it's 2001. It's the GameCube is the hottest thing on the market right now. Well, second hottest. Second hottest. If the GameCube is like putting your hand under hot water, the PS2 is the goddamn sun.
Mm-hmm.
But you had the GameCube came out, and Brian did correct this. Thank you, Brian. That yeah.
And I was double checking it as well, and it was estimated that 70% of all GameCube owners owned a copy of Melee. Holy shit, that's some market penetration right there.
Yeah. So for reference, according to what people have found, just over 7 million copies of Melee have been sold. And if that's 70% of your market, that means 10 million GameCubes were sold, both in North America and Japan. So, like, that's really good saturation. That's really, really good. But then, like, keep in mind too, like, here's this like weird little fighting game with a bunch of Nintendo characters, and with that large roster, I think you start off with like 12 or 13. 13 technically if you include Zelda and Sheik as separate characters, and then you can double the roster by just playing the game basically, and at the end of the day you have 26 characters all with very different play styles.
There's a lot there. Just easily said.
Basically. And you know, something that we haven't even touched on yet, just in our nostalgia tripping, is, you know, we're talking about the single player and the gameplay. We haven't even brushed on the stages themselves and how they add a whole new level of crazy, because
that you did not see in other fighting games, which you are absolutely correct for. Like, you never saw anything else like that anywhere.
I mean, at this point, you know, we're talking Melee and, you know, the original Smash. Board hazards are not something that I ever came across in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. So the idea of the board itself being a contributor to your demise,
so like the R wings, I think in the Corsica stage, you've got the breakable like pulley lever system on Mushroom Kingdom. The lava / acid in Zeebs.
Yeah,
those are the main ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, like, in the original game, you have 9 stages. One of them is an unlockable, the Mushroom Kingdom one. And then jump to Melee, you have 29 stages!
Freaking Poke Floats, dude.
Oh,
Poke Floats is the best game. I loved Poke Floats.
I hated Poke Floats.
The sheer madness you had to endure to survive that. Oh.
Poke Floats is a testament to fucking platforming and trying to have this mini game of platforming in the middle of a goddamn fighting game.
I think that stage, you spent more time trying to just stay alive on the stage than you did actually attacking each other.
I'd make the same argument, all of those arguments, for Big Blue.
Oh yeah.
Because
Have you guys seen there's a YouTube video of all the characters in Smash Ultimate trying to keep up with the cars on the Big Blue stage of Smash Ultimate?
I've played on that stage. It's like...
There's about 7 of them that actually can keep up.
Sonic, one of them?
Hilarious.
It'd be really disappointing if he wasn't.
Sonic is absolutely one of them. In fact, I believe Sonic is the fastest by a hair.
So I believe Sonic's the fastest ground character, and then if we go to the air, I think one of the sword users might be faster in the air.
It was really sad watching Bowser trying to keep up.
Oh, I'm sad now.
Oh, it's
After this, go take a look at it. It's hilarious.
Like, the jump from 64 to GameCube to go to Melee, Melee is the game that, for me, that was college right there. Was, like some of my most favorite treasured memories in college was just having Wyatt, Nick, and Ben in my dorm for hours! Hours!
So are we officially swapping over to Melee for a conversation?
I think so.
Okay. The reason why I ask is, I think when you talk about Melee, again, I think we can all agree that Melee, as a game overall, Melee is an improvement over the first game. The first game should always be revered for starting something. When I review games, I often will refer to things as a grandfather game. It's sort of the thing that started it all, and you have to give it credit, but you also have to accept that there's games that are better in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Final Fantasy 1 is a great game, but I would rather play Final Fantasy 6 any day of the week. But if it wasn't there, we wouldn't have Final Fantasy 6.
Like, I've absolutely bought games, and I realize, like, right after I buy them, like, I probably will never play this, but it still feels good that I have it. It still feels good that it's in my collection.
I'm pretty sure I still have a copy of Melee hiding somewhere in one of my closets.
So I think Melee, most people are going to consider to be a better game than the first game, and it works so well, and it's huge, and it kind of was one of the games that popularized open accessibility. I think when Melee first comes out, Sakurai's dream is being realized. Sakurai can see new people that haven't played games like this jumping in. Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
However, something happens a few months after Melee comes out, and that's the start of it becoming a competitive game.
I think it's also important to mention that probably around the time Melee came out was quote I don't want to say birth, but the emergence of the modern day internet. By which I mean, like, DSL and Google's a thing now. It's still a small thing, but it's still a thing. And so there's now, like, forums and websites on, like, people on there talking about Melee, and all of a sudden, yeah, like GameFAQs and like various other websites, and you're talking about the game, and you're talking about the mechanics of the game, and the characters, and then you start looking into like breaking down frame data, because we have that technology now with our 2 gigabyte hard drives that we can process the data and break down the frame data.
Yeah, and Melee to me is one of those games that will be unforgettable in my life because of how much time I actually spent playing with friends in college. And it's funny because now I look back at it and I played it. You know, I went to this was when the Wii version came out. The Wii U version came out. So the GameStop I went to for the midnight had a tournament that you could win an amiibo at. So I tried my luck. So they had the older versions of Smash playing, not the new one. And looking at the old one, you know, the original, and then trying Melee, it's amazing how different the game looks now than what it did then.
True. Yeah,
absolutely. But Melee, regardless, still holds up to the testament of time, because even when I was playing it there, it felt faster, obviously, but it didn't feel any different to play the character for the most part. So it really kind of set the scene for everything else, and it was kind of the template that they used there. They kind of set that for everything going forward.
Absolutely, and you know, with Melee, you know, by now Nintendo has already. I mean, Super Smash Brothers sold like crazy on the N64. So it's like, all right, how are you gonna top that? All right. Here's an intro with the most bombastic music ever. Okay. You have my
Smash
attention.
has some of the... I say Smash, any of the game, especially Melee, but all of them, have the best goddamn soundtrack.
Well, yes. Absolutely. Especially when we get to Brawl, when Nintendo goes, hey, Nobuo Uematsu, you want to get in on this?
Where are you? You want to have this too? You sure you don't want to like come back to Nintendo? Like, give us a game? No? All right. Well, how about working on Smash? Want to work on Smash a bit?
Yeah, I mean they were able to take the best music from every game franchise in Smash and then remix them in amazing way.
Definitely. There's no argument there. That's just...
Which wasn't there one that they actually had like a full orchestra for? Was it Melee or was
that was Melee?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Melee. And, you know, just aside from the insane multiplayer aspects, like the new additions from the original game to Melee, like the first real true single player. I mean, yes, you had classic mode in the original, obviously, and again, you know, your final boss. I'm expecting Bowser, not this gloved hand, but
yeah. So for reference, base version had classic mode and trials, and that was pretty much it.
That was pretty much it. And then you have some in Melee. You have the event matches, which like every single one of those event matches were, there was a preconceived, there was a condition. Like, there was each event had some sort of shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And you had some that you didn't even have to kill anybody. You just had to survive.
Some you had to survive. And that was, in the event matches, some of the ways you unlocked characters. Because, again, some of the stages, because, again, you're going from 12 characters and 9 stages in the original to 26 characters and 29 stages. So, there's so much more to this game. And then also, even in the multiplayer, there's all these different settings. Like, every time in college I used to play with Wyatt and company for hours, the very last battle of the night, we would always do this. We would always do a sudden death, 99 lives.
Oh,
yep.
And just everyone starts at 300% and go.
All of a sudden you just start hearing like the streaking noise, and just like every 3 seconds there's someone going streaking, basically.
Yep.
Brian, if you could just make those characters tiny, it could be the Buzz challenge.
So other things to keep in mind too is that if you still have these really weird characters showing up. Like, okay, we kind of know who Dr. Mario is. We sort of know who Falco and Ganondorf are.
Okay, wait a second. Who doesn't know who Dr. Mario is?
Okay.
Yes.
Let's be clear, though. Dr. Mario is just Mario in a lab coat. There's nothing else involved with that.
Nobody knows who Ice Climbers is.
And that's the thing I was going to get to. Is like, who the hell is Ice Climbers? Who the hell is Mr. Game & Watch? Then we have these doofuses called Marth and Roy with swords. Like, sorry, we already have Link and now young Link, I guess. Sure, you want to add Kid Link in the game? Fine, whatever. What do you mean he's stupid good? What?
Yeah, he is and always will be one of my favorite characters of any of the. Well, they took him out for 2 Smash games after that, and then brought him back for this one. But he's still my favorite.
Yeah, and then of course, the opening cinematic, the character that made everyone, shit themselves, Sheik.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
that was who I played.
Sheik was. Nobody played Zelda because she was too weak. She just turned the Sheik at the beginning of the match. You're done.
Was Zero Suit Samus?
No, that was Brawl.
She was introduced in Brawl.
In Brawl, okay. And then of course,
because the Zero Suit, for reference, Zero Suit itself did not show up until Zero Mission, which was 2005.
Right.
Okay. Before we go any farther, guys, why don't we go around and say who everybody played? Because that seems like something we've touched on a little bit over the course of this. But we're talking about Smash. What does everybody play? Just over the year.
Kirby forever.
For me, I was always Samus and Ness.
For me, I usually played, in Melee I played Young Link and Dr. Mario quite a bit, and then I tended to stick to just regular Link for most of the other games.
Okay. I did Yoshi in the first game, Sheik in the second in Melee, and then Zero Suit Samus up to the current, where I'm playing Kirby because I got so used to playing Kirby in World of Light. I tend to play fast characters.
And Wyatt, I know, whenever we played Melee in college, Wyatt would tend to be the asshole Falco.
Hey.
Let me actually amend what I said before. It was actually Toon Link afterwards because he was the version of Young Link that they introduced afterwards. So I tended to stick to him and regular Link onward. I forgot that he was in the game because he kind of sucks now and I don't like him.
Toon
Link.
I was gonna say, I love Wind Waker. I don't mind Toon Link as a character, but calling him Toon Link, really? Like,
listen, we have to differentiate him from Kid Link somehow, and it can't just be the art style.
They like to update. I've noticed that they like to update with the Zelda of the times. So every game that they've put out, they just update the characters to be the Zelda of the times. And unfortunately, Toon Link was the Zelda of the times.
Yes, he was.
Well, yeah, but they could have just changed Kid Link to to him, and like they don't have to name Link Breath of the Wild Link for us to know.
Which is one thing when we get to Ultimate, I'll bring it up, but I kind of wish that they had kept the older costumes of the older versions of the characters in the game. But that's my. We'll talk about that.
That's your peeve. But yeah, no. I know. I also like in Melee. I still do this in the later games. I do go back and forth between Kirby, Ganondorf, because Ganondorf, and Wyatt is putting a spirited defense for Falco, but
No, not really. Okay, so let me explain. Kirby was my favorite in the first game, and I loved Kirby. Kirby was hilarious. You could do trollish things. I loved how he was weird and floaty, and I love playing characters that feel a bit different. When Kirby came out in Melee, and I think this is something that I kind of touched on in my article a little bit, my life was changing at that point, because at that impasse, I was shifting over from playing because it was something I could play with my brother, and suddenly I was the cool guy who people in the block would bike to your house to play Smash Brothers with you, right? So for me, that's where I was with the first game. The second game, I was in college. And as I was in college, I met people that were much more competitive, like Ben. And whenever Ben, wonderful gentleman that he is, would carry you a new one verbally when he beat you. And that changed.
He's not a gracious winner, is he?
And that changed the way I played games in a big way. Was suddenly realized, like, okay, I'm in college. There's more gamers around. It's not just me and like my brother. And it's like there was a whole scene of nerds that like to play games, and that changes how you think about it in a lot of ways. And so I found myself, okay, I need to find a character that's more competitive, because Kirby didn't feel competitive, because whenever we'd play and we'd win, Ben would then say, hey, okay, one-on-one, no items, let's go.
One-on-one, no items, Final Destination. Let's go, bitch.
It wasn't Final Destination yet, because this is before like that really started, but there was like the start of that at that point. This just gets exacerbated when I start the gaming society at my college because of Smash Brothers. Actually, I had essentially, how do I put this? We were playing the game in my room, and someone made the joke of, why don't we? Someone's like, why isn't there a club for this? And I went, yeah, wait a second, why isn't there a club for this? And so, on sort of like a bet, we started the gaming society based around Smash Brothers, because that was a game that always allowed everyone to start playing the game. I remember one of the first big events we did is we did a Smash Brothers tournament, and I had a small conniption, because suddenly I had people that wanted to play Smash Brothers, and we had like 20 or 30 people, which was great. That was phenomenal at this big event. But we also had people that came from outside of the college who wanted to show up, and people were like, oh yeah, I play in New York City competitively, and they unwrap their own controller. I hadn't seen that before.
God!
This is at the start. But this is at the start, so this hasn't gotten bad yet. Like, you have to remember, this was still new and unique, and you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is kind of different. Does that make any sense? It wasn't really... It wasn't really bothering me. It wasn't an issue by this point.
you say it's not an issue for you. I'm sure there's some people there that had some
I wouldn't even say that, because people were kind of looking at this like, hey, what's this guy? And he shows up and he's like, I'm kind of a big deal. I play competitively. And suddenly he was the guy to beat. And so people would start to play that way. And the game started to shift more competitive at that point. At the start, a little bit of competition in the game feels good, because then you figure out all the cracks in the game. You can try out new things. And I think that's really fun. I think that's a fun way to play a game. But then when that becomes the norm, you have problems. And we'll get there with later editions, and as we finish up talking about Melee. But at this point, that's kind of what dragged me to Falco, because as someone who was running the gaming society, who was running that club, I had people gunning for me, and that was new. Like, they're like, oh, you're in charge of the club? I want to beat you. And I was like, oh, sure, let's play. And suddenly I felt like I had to hold my own, which is sort of a weird place to be.
This is why I play games with friends and never in club.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like everyone's trying to gun for Wyatt like he has a gym badge or something. That that it's like some sort of badge of honor, like, oh, I beat the Gaming Society Master. Haha.
So this is dumb question, totally off topic, but you can blame Brian for bringing this up. How many Pokemon would you have for your gym badge?
Oh, what kind of Pokemon?
No, like if you had a gym badge, how many would you use, and what types would they be?
Oh, well, but my gym type would probably be Ghost or Psychic because I'm a troll when I play games, as Brian knows.
A little bit.
I don't. The phrase I used to use is that I am the most competitive casual player you will play. I like getting good at games, but as soon as people are like, "All right, I have to sit there and practice for 4 hours a day and learn every single move, and I have to master wave dashing," I go, "I'm out. I don't. This is no longer fun." But I love the experience of getting good at games. Always trying to be better every time you play it. But again, as soon as you make it all about getting better just to be better, I'm like, that's no longer a game, and I back out. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So that was kind of where I was at that part of my life, and it was really fun to be there. But this is definitely a shift from kind of, this is a game just for fun, to wait a second, I have to defend. This is a game that's going to change how people look at games.
I mean, Melee, for me, was probably when I started to fall in love with Smash, because, like I said, to parallel, I'm a single-player gamer. I'm very rarely competitive in any form. I don't have an ambition to become the best at something. I'm playing because I enjoy it. And I play a lot of RPGs, as you all well know from all the podcasts I've been. But Melee was when we started to get a more robust single player, and that really, like, it got me to play the game more, which meant I could be better when I did play with other people, and it had something that I could do and be entertained with. Outside of playing with other people when you're not doing so. And I think that having that single player mode, I think, brought a lot of people into Melee, that it made it more accessible the way Iwata wanted. The way Sakurai wanted.
Yep.
I also think that this is the point in time that Smash became one of the pillars for Nintendo. Because Nintendo has a couple franchises that sell systems that are the pillars of. They have other things. They have Metroid. They have a lot of other things that they do occasionally. But Zelda, Mario, the mainline Mario Kart, and Smash are the console pillars. Like, Smash and Mario Kart have, like, pretty much if you have one of the systems, you have all of, yes, but less. Responding to the text messages on the thing, Mario Party I would put in that lesser category as well, because some of them have been big, but it's generally not a system the way that the Zeldas, the Marios, the Kart, and the Smashes are. And nowadays, mainline Pokemon, but it'll be quite some time before we get to this point where they start coming out in console.
They said this year, so we might see that this year.
Well, yes, but I'm saying right now we're talking about Melee, so it's going to be quite some time before that happened.
Just the amount of stuff that went into this game, and you're absolutely right, Ronnie. Just the more opportunities for single player, the many different customizable options for how your multiplayer Smash matches go. It was just except coin mode, yes. And some of the one of my absolute favorite stages in all of Smash came out of Melee. The Fountain of Dreams. One of my absolute favorite stages to play on, period. It's just so pretty.
It is. It actually is one of my favorites too.
And just we brought back some of the classic stages from classic quote unquote. It was just a game before, Congo Jungle, Dreamland, Yoshi's Island. We already went up and down on Poke Floats. Also, another one where it was a battle to stay alive. Rainbow Cruise.
Yep.
It's like, oh no, the thing's moving. Oh crap! I went off this.
It was also the first time they introduced the temple stage from Zelda, which is massive.
Yes.
It is a massive stage.
Yeah, if there's battles going on opposite ends of the board, it's like everyone has to get right up to the screen. Like, where the hell am I?
Yeah, I think the thing too is I think the temple stage was designed to be the 4-player match stage.
Yes.
So it was cool. It was nice. It was like just large enough that you could have four people on it and still have unique things occur on in each of the fighting stages or the fighting arenas, with eventual splash over into the other when you start seeing people flying. And we won't talk about the Ultra Battlefield until later, but there's some. For the longest time, the temple stage was always the stage people went to for their 4-player massive items spawning brawls.
Well, yeah, I mean, wasn't this the first of the Smash games that actually had you could create a 4, 8, or however many player tournament bracket?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like I thought that functionality happened in this one. So yes, exactly, and it's like I wish I hadn't left New Paltz when I had to, so that I could have seen all this insanity at the Gaming Society, because I'm sure there was just absolute bedlam when Melee got brought out.
It could be, and I'm absolutely very happy that all of that happened. Don't get me wrong, but I kind of have mixed feelings about Melee, because when it first came out, I loved it. And about the last year that Melee was out before Brawl, something changed, and I didn't like it anymore. It's not that I didn't like it anymore, it's that the mood in the room changed. And it was a very obvious adjustment that left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not sure if anyone else feels that way.
Oh, I mean, you did have 7 years between Melee and Brawl, so do you think because of that... I mean, we had 2 years between the original and Melee, and then the 7-year gap, so maybe?
I think it's also worth mentioning that this is, it was probably a couple of years before, fighting game tournaments for Melee started really being a thing.
Right, like I said, so I had the first Smash tournament or two, and the people showed up with their own controllers. Everyone was, "Hey, that's cool! You're taking it seriously. Games have this cool new kind of being taken more seriously vibe to them."
Yeah,
and that was new. So that was still something that everyone was kind of like, "Hey, that's kind of chill. I really like this as a idea, as a concept." It wasn't being looked down on. If I'm making any sense.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And it's a thing too that up until then, the really only competitive fighting game was probably Street Fighter 2. I don't think even Street Fighter 3 was out yet.
No, but Mortal Kombat was being played competitively at that point.
Well, this is where you kind of get the whole accessibility thing again, where the accessibility of Smash Brothers is kind of what opens up esports in a new way to different people.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That's definitely a good thing. Don't get me wrong by any stretch. But then this is also in some ways the beginning of the end of me having fun, because what happened was that when I run Gaming Society, we always end up starting to have a TV for Smash Brothers, and we were growing from having 20 or 30 people to 40 or 50 people a week. And we started getting projectors for the first time while Melee is out, right? So you have this evolution going on, and then you start getting people that always show up with controllers. This didn't happen every week. You'd have people playing competitively, and you have people playing casually, and no one cared. It jumped between. However, about 3 or 4 years in, you have people hey, it's our turn to have Smash. We want to play with no items. We want to play on Final Destination. We want to practice. Why are you playing with items? You guys aren't playing the game right. This is where the change hits, if that makes sense.
Well, the way that I see it is you have people that want to play competitively, people that don't, and I'm and I know I've heard you guys talk about it before, but I'm an avid World of Warcraft player. Not so much right now because I'm not really thrilled with how the expansion's been going, but I'm finding that my guild is schisming for pretty much the same reasons. There's people that want to play the game casually, and there's people that want to progress and do a lot much harder versions of what they're doing. And you're always going to run the gamut of that when you run with people. There's people that will agree with you and want to be casual, and there's people that want to run more progressively. And unfortunately, when that schism happens, then those people have to go off and do their own thing, and you go off and do your own. It's kind of like a life cycle with any game, especially
it's a hard time in the fan base. Like I played World of Warcraft, so I got the same thing on that. But like Melee was that for an entire fan base
Yep.
Which has felt very different because like in World of Warcraft, because I played World of Warcraft for the first 3 expansions since beta all the way up through the end of Wrath, and like a guild will go through that life cycle and then split, and they'll join with another guild, and that stuff happens. But Melee was that on a massive scale.
Yep. Well, it's kind of what it really sparked what's going on with esports now, where you have your casual gamers that play, and then you have your very hard, crazy sports teams that are professionally paid and all this stuff. So
if I was a billionaire, I would start up have $1 million for winning this tournament. Smash Bros. Only Pokeball.
Yeah.
Have at it, professional gamers.
I think in their minds, what a lot of people were starting to do with no items, only one stage, is they wanted to remove the randomness out of it.
Oh, totally agree.
They wanted it. They wanted Smash Brothers to be more like your traditional fighting game, where you don't have those items. You've got a very limited way. It's based on the skill of the fighter, which to me, fine. You want to do that, go off and do it on your own. But I personally enjoy playing the game with items because the game is supposed to be about bringing everything in the Nintendo universe together into one game.
Right. So what you're saying is entirely valid, and I agree with you 100%. I think that you can't have both. You should have people that are playing the game casually, and you should have people that are playing the game competitively. And there's not a right way between the two. I 110% agree with you. And if you look at sports, you have people that play basketball in their local neighborhood and the people that play in stadiums, and no one yells at the people playing on their own going, oh, why aren't you better at this game? Why aren't you playing this more competitively? Why aren't you more badass? Why aren't you playing this with regulation basketballs and regulation sneakers? You don't have that as much because we have different areas in our lives for those sort of games. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, I think part of it is that video gaming is very new. Like, even for those of us who started, like, with the NES, or even, for older people who started with Atari, like, gaming is new in the culture. So, we're still struggling in many ways with how we treat video games, and for the people who go in competitively, they've changed what that is to competition for them, and they can't see it halfway. And I think that's a mindset you'll get out of as gaming grows older, and we have more... When competitive gaming becomes more respected, more well-known among the general populace, because I think that might be part of why their kickback is so much. Because they have to feel like they constantly have to prove that what they're doing is real.
Especially, so at this point, this is brand new, and you're trying to forge a space out of a place where there was no space before, right? So, if you think about that, it sort of makes sense. The problem is when you have a schism, and you have two different groups of people. You can have two different groups of people, and that's fine. The problem is when one has to belittle the other, and that's absolutely when I started having a problem. Because what you'd have the people that would turn and go, "Oh, you're playing with items. You're not playing the game right." And that goes against what Sakurai thought. That goes against what the original push of the game was to begin with. and that's where I start to have issues. I'm not saying that everyone did that. Please don't get me wrong.
No,
I don't think that at all. I was trying to what I thought their mindset was. That's not a justification for it at all.
Yep.
And it's the same thing as I feel like as time goes on, as we'll get into more recent ones, there's been a lot of kickback from the casual side against the competitive side. And I kind of look at both and just like, guys, we all love Smash.
Well,
Let's just love it in our own way.
As things have gone online, you can kind of do that as you get ranking. So, like League of Legends, you have ranked mode and casual mode. When you play Heroes of the Storm, same thing. Hearthstone. So a lot of games that are online are able to differ that because you can create separate kind of avenues. People that are logging in, going, "Hey, I want to play this game more competitively. I want to play this game less competitively." So you do get that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. I got that crap about Smash from competitive players and casual players. I primarily play it single player, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is a fighting game. Why are you playing single player? We're here to do this." And I'm like, that's how I play the game.
And I've gotten the same thing. And generally, when someone tells me why the hell do you play with items, I say, "What? You afraid I'm going to pick up the item before you and kill you with it?" You got to shit talk back to them a little.
It's like
You can.
I will say this: there is nothing more gratifying than KOing somebody in Smash with a paper fan.
Yep.
That is that is one of the most hilarious moments that can happen. Is like, one of the weakest items in the game, and you just knock somebody out with it.
It's funny. I think for me the most satisfying one is KOing someone with the home run bat when you get the nice satisfying crack off of it. You're just like, and you're gone.
I think one of my most satisfying moments playing Smash Bros. Was going back to that original guy that showed up and started playing competitively. We were playing a competitive round, and with the tournament finished, he won. He smoked everyone, and he tried to do that cool, suave, like, not going to smile, like he's focused in. And we're playing like a 4-player, just beat 'em up with no items, or like only a few items, so like half competitive, half casual, which is what I like to be. I like being in that middle space. And I went, you know what? I'm picking Pichu, and I'm gonna take you on with Pichu.
I knew there was a Pichu story in there.
Everyone else dies, and it's me and him with one life left. And I'm like, I'm gonna kill you, and I know I'm gonna die. I know I'm gonna get lost. I had expectation I was going to win this, but for some reason the gaming spirit smiled down on me as I'm just jumping around like, I'm Pichu, I'm damaging myself trying to dodge you, like I'm just harrowing him, and he jumps off the side to get me and overextends, does a mid-air dash and can't get back.
That's funny. My most satisfying moment is picking up people with Donkey Kong, putting them up over my back, and jumping off the edge with them.
Yep.
Time.
Oh, you're that asshole too. Okay.
It's okay. They got rid of that ability. He can't do that anymore.
No, they didn't. They didn't get rid of that. You can still do that with a couple of the characters in Smash now, or Ultimate, I should say.
It's not my most. Sorry.
Donkey Kong does not have the throw anymore, though. Can't use Donkey Kong for that. I have to figure out which character actually has that then.
It's not my most satisfying memory, but just from what we're going off of, when Smash for 3DS originally came out, the very first match I had was me and my friend Alyssa doing Pikachus with only Pokeballs. And
Yes.
we just pelted each other. Nope, we did no regular attacks. We just ran around the stage pelting each other with Pokeballs, seeing what the hell would come out and attack us. It was beautiful.
Oh, there are more stories to go on, particularly one recent bachelor party that I went to, which we will get to. But we've gone well over an hour just on these 2 games, and we got 3 more to go, and I need to put an intermission in here somewhere.
Did you make Pikachu strip for you?
No. How would it? No. What?
You said bachelor party?
No, it's more getting to play an old-fashioned Smash Brothers game while also drinking through New York City. That's more of where that comes from.
Yes, so
we'll get there.
We'll get there. So for now, we're going to end the first half here. Oh, great!
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. Now
For
somebody's got to
anybody
put.
who's listening to this podcast, you can just imagine what was just sent.
Yep, as we are recording.
Because the internet is a thing.
Because the internet is a thing, and because we are recording now from Discord, so haha, we can get away with shit like this. So we will have a little bit of a break. You'll have some music. We'll beat the crap out of each other with Mr. Saturns or whatever, and go from there. So you are listening to episode 1 of season 9 of DLC, talking about Super Smash Brothers. We'll be back. Welcome back to our second half here on our Smash Brothers retrospective year. Season 9, episode 1 of downloadable content. We are all still here. No one has taken a hammer to the face.
Yeah.
Yet.
We haven't gotten fingered by one of the gloved hands.
Yeah. Oh, just...
We're getting to Crazy Hand now.
Oh, well, Crazy Hand first appeared in Melee, and that's, for somebody who has a chronic illness like myself, you would think that seeing, a white gloved hand would just immediately bad touch, but it hasn't.
It looks more like a hand from Mickey Mouse.
It does, Doctor.
Well,
Does someone think of the hand from the hamburger Hepler hand?
well,
No.
if it's Mickey Mouse's hand, then you're saying that Disney is pulling the string.
Yes.
Isn't Disney always pulling the strings?
That's why. Well, not really, because they're not getting the rights to that Nintendo world that they're building Universal.
Now it's reached the point now where it's like Disney owns one half of my childhood and AT&T owns the other.
Oh boy.
So Yay, capitalism. All right, moving on. We talked about the original game. We've talked about Melee. We are moving on to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which came 7 years after Melee, so there was a good long wait. So we had Melee, we had that to chew on for a while, but one of the things that I actually really liked, and let me know if you guys remember this, but because the development time to Brawl took so long, anyone remember the Super Smash Dojo?
I think so. This was like the thing that they were trying to do to like maintain interest in the game, because the game got announced at E3 very early on, and they're like, here's the game that's going to be coming out for the Wii. It's not going to be coming out for a year, but we're going to spoil the entire cast for you during the course of the lead up into the game being released proper.
Yes, this was Nintendo's first start to, hey, guess who's going to be in the game?
And to elaborate, Ron, on your point there, this was announced at the pre-E3 2005 press conference. Iwata announced that the next installment of Smash Bros. Was soon to be in development for its next console and would be a launch title. This announcement was a complete surprise to Sakurai.
Yeah, I actually remember reading about that.
Oh, because Sakurai was not informed at all that Nintendo was going to release another Smash game.
Well, they had come to him before this about wanting to do more Smash, and he was unsure if he wanted to or not, and this was basically them going, yeah, well, if you don't, then we're just going to do it without you. And it basically put him on the spot and made him have to make the decision to, upend his life and nearly kill himself again. Of course, I think, and this absolutely happened with Melee as well, but I think Brawl is when it became the biggest, up until now, of, oh my god, who do you think is going to be in the new Smash Brothers?
Yep.
Oh my god, what characters? What are they going to do? Like, I think Melee had that, but Brawl was where it became a phenomenon, and I think that's because of the increased adoption rate of the internet, and how it was more ever-present in our lives by that point.
Well, if you remember, they had an image going around for Melee where they inserted Sonic and Tails as playable characters, and they even inserted, they basically photoshopped images of them in there. So this actually is the first game where Sonic actually did make it onto the roster, surprisingly enough. Yeah. And so did Snake. It was the first time that we had any third-party, any non-Nintendo game characters showing up on the roster.
Yes.
Not the last.
Yes.
No, definitely not the last.
And obviously, also, again, because we had 7 years between the two games, of course there's going to be speculation, like how big the roster's going to be, who's going to be on it. And I remember hearing, the announcement, the non-Nintendo characters that were going to be in this game, which cemented the point for me that, okay, this franchise has become a phenomenon now, to the point where other major AAA developers want in on this.
Like Solid Snake. Why is Solid Snake the character that they choose to pick to put into a fighting game?
They didn't.
Because it's hilarious.
He came to them with he loved Smash Brothers and he wanted Snake in the game. It wasn't the other way around. That's how that whole thing happened.
That's hilarious.
It's okay, so I feel it's worth mentioning that yes, all these, now that we're starting to get into third-party characters, all these characters have been on a Nintendo console at one point in time.
Okay, Snake is a bit of a stretch. Yes.
Twin Snakes. That's how they got him on there.
I was going to say the original Metal Gear. But
yeah, I was going to say Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2, even though Metal Gear 2 is not canon to the franchise. But,
They got Solid Snake specifically because of Twin Snakes. That's how they get Solid Snake specifically.
Yeah, and I forgot about Twin Snakes. You were correct there. I was thinking the original NES ones.
Yes, and I agree with you. And I'm just like, but there is a pattern to the release of all the Nintendo games.
So are you saying that we may be seeing Joker on the Switch?
I mean,
I assume we are.
So for reference, random aside, the reason why Joker's showing up is because Persona Q2 released on the 3DS literally 3 weeks before Switch came out, before Ultimate came out.
But it's easy enough for people over here to forget about that because it has not been brought over here yet, and it has no release date to be brought over here. With the success of Persona Q, we assume it's going to be brought over here, but with Atlas, it could be a year and a half before we even have a release date.
The more likely reasoning and the more expected thing, and I agree with you, is yes, Persona 5 shows up on the Switch. And let's be honest, Nintendo will be kind of dumb to not put it on the Switch.
Yeah, Persona 5 are... which we should be getting more information about in about 2 months.
Yep.
And so
we just totally took this off the road. We need to bring this back on.
We'll bring this back. So
Lakitu needs to pick us back up, drop us back onto the course.
Neck is here.
Like Lakitu in Mario Kart.
Yep. So you have Snake, and then you have, Sonic now appearing in a Smash game. Like, the final nail in the coffin here that Nintendo has won the console war, and Sega is now Nintendo's bitch. So,
I mean, to be fair, the fact that Sega is still a goddamn company at this point in time is a surprise to everyone, but...
Well, yes, so... Then we start finally seeing other characters, because now the roster goes from 26 to 39.
The other thing to keep in mind, too, here is this is the first game that we've had where they've actually removed a set of characters. Because in this one, you don't have Dr. Mario, Young Link, Pichu, or Mewtwo.
Right.
So I think a lot of people... I mean, personally, I wasn't a fan of this game. I just didn't feel like it played like a Smash Brothers game. I did like Subspace Emissary, which was the single-player mode in there. I thought that they had a nice story with it.
Because the story was written by Square Enix?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that, and also including the cross-platforming is Square Enix was probably one of the first things they did with Square Enix to try and get Nintendo back, or Nintendo to get them back into the fold with the mixed success of Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube.
Well, it's also why you see. Well, we'll talk about it in the next game, but it's why you see Cloud finally brought into the. But yeah, this was an interesting. This was kind of. I kind of consider this the spin-off to Smash Brothers. I don't know why I feel that way, but it's actually one of the very few Smash Brothers games that I didn't keep in my library. As soon as I got the opportunity to get rid of it, I did.
I mean, that's entirely fair. I mean, this.
And the final boss, Taboo, was a huge bitch to destroy. He was so hard. He was so friggin' hard. He was awful.
He was, but Subspace Emissary as a whole just...
great.
I was gonna say, it's before Ultimate, it was my favorite single-player mode in a fighting game. It was wonderful.
I did enjoy the Subspace Emissary quite a bit as well, and, the expanded roster, again, going up to 39 characters, this introduced some characters that have become part of my rotation of when I play multiplayer, and one of them being King DDD.
I love my fat penguin.
Yes,
I love him.
Yes, you do, and... yes, Gassy Wario. Wario was introduced here.
His down B. Oh my god, his down B.
Here's the funny part. DDD, maybe it's just because of the people I play with up here, but DDD is one of those characters I always forget is in Smash Brothers because I don't think I've ever seen somebody play him outside of the computer in matches where it has to be him.
Well, then play a match against Wyatt or myself sometime, and
okay.
we'll go from there.
I mean, it is no insult to him. I forget he's there.
We have, again, Wario. Let's see, another character that I've added to my rotation, Meta Knight. Just a thing with the Kirby characters for me for some reason. It's just like I just adopt them. It's like, no, come with me. We'll,
And for those that are, there's also the first game with Lucas, which is even more surprising considering how much Nintendo fucking hates the Mother franchise.
It's like you thought Ness was obscure. We're going to...
Yeah, we're gonna show who's this blonde-haired kid. Why do we have to care about him?
They also added in Pit from Kid Icarus, and I don't know. I mean, I personally did not hear of that game when I was a kid. I was much older when I heard about it.
Yeah, I missed the boat on that one.
Yeah. And then Rob was completely out of the friggin' blue.
The first, yes, you turn. Nintendo has turned one of their peripherals into a character.
Well, wasn't there an image that they had, like that people were saying, like that reproduced image that I told you about, where they added Sonic and Tails? Didn't they add Tetris Man in there as a thing? Wasn't Tetris Man a supposed character?
I
thought I saw something.
Well,
This is the birth of also, like, you want to talk about memes? Here's the birth of a goddamn meme. It's the goddamn Smash. Who's going to show up in Smash meme?
now that we have Puyo Puyo Tetris, we have legitimate Tetris characters they could add into Smash. Get hype on that, internet. I want to see L in there. ELLE.
So there, you still have your usual. You still have your usual. Still have the original cast in there, and
It's also the first introduction of the Final Smash.
yes. Because that addition to gameplay and the addition, so now you've got 41 stages.
Jesus.
So we just start getting more and more insane here. We have the, I'm just trying to think of, we have like the Bridge of Eldin from Twilight Princess.
And what will be my always favorite stage, Luigi's Mansion, was added this one too.
Yeah. Probably the stage I hate in all of Smash shows up in this game, Hannonbow. And I like some of the nods to other games as well, like the WarioWare stage.
That one's
I
ridiculous.
believe New Pork City shows up in Brawl.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So does what the hell's the one with the one with Donkey Kong, the 75 meter?
Yes. Yep, that one shows up. Metroid gets a bit more love with
Friendstar, I think.
And surprisingly enough, didn't they add an Animal Crossing one in there too with no Animal Crossing character? Because Villager hasn't come out in this one, right?
No.
Villager's next after this one.
I think they added in they did add in a stage. They added in Smashville as a stage without actually having a Animal Crossing character.
But I think they had Animal Crossing in the background for, like, as a nod to the franchise at the time.
Yep.
Yes, they did, and then they put in like console specific, like the Picto chat from the Nintendo DS. You want to talk about board hazards? And I think this was the first of those Smash games in which you could create your own stages.
Yep.
Because I think that was one of the ways you unlocked a stage or a character, was that you had to create X number of stages.
Yeah, I don't remember which one, so...
No. So we had that, and so by this point, we get to Brawl. We have this is the first of the Smash games where you could play online using the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. I know the trophies came about in Melee. Was this the first one with the assist trophies, or was that in Melee as well?
I want to say Brawl had assist trophies first. I don't remember Melee having assist trophies.
No, neither do I. So
Melee didn't have it. I think this one was the one where they introduced it.
okay. And thank you, Wiki, for confirming that. All hail Lord Wikipedia. Yes, there is that as well. Thank you for that. Random fact: Brawl is the first game where the announcer does not yell the game's title at the title screen. But this game winds up being just, we pour on the composers. There are, according to Wikipedia, 7 composers for this game, with Nobuo Uematsu writing the main theme of the game. Which is like, oh, we're bringing on the composer for Final Fantasy. Okay, you have my attention. So, I did mention toward the end of the first half that there's a story here involving a bachelor party. So Wyatt and I, we went to New York City. When Wyatt was the mastermind behind the bachelor party for our friend Ben, who got married last year, and he wanted to recreate some of our experiences that we had in college in New Paltz. So Wyatt and I came up with this thing. So I had to, since I was, I think, the only one of us that had any console that could play GameCube. It was the Wii, because it was Brawl. So I brought down my Wii, and I brought a bunch of controllers, and I brought Brawl. And so after a day of drinking, we headed back to our hotel room, and I hooked up my Wii, and we had Brawl, and we were all. So imagine 6 of us. Well, it was 6. In various stages of inebriation, playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And the highlight of that particular session was, first, Wyatt decides he's going to play as Wario.
Yeah, because Wario is a great troll character, let's just be honest with ourselves. And there's nothing bad about having a good troll character out in the field.
So Wyatt is just, you're playing as Wario, he's just, farting and throwing the motorcycle that Wario gets just at all of us, to just great hilarity. And then after that battle, I'm like, alright, fine. Then we have 4 of us playing as Wario.
Motorcycles everywhere.
Motorcycles everywhere, and one of our friends, Reed, he was just dying laughter. Now, he also takes medical marijuana, so he's in. It still has THC in it, so he's a little bit high. So just watching him going into this stage of high-pitched hyena laughter while this hilarious scene of 4 Warios is playing out was just absolutely insane. It was a lot of fun. It was absolutely a ton of fun, and it was a good way to dust off my very, very neglected Wii and just have a fun evening. After spending all day walking through the Lower East Side of Manhattan, getting drunk and having really, really good food. So that's my big Brawl memory there. So.
Well, it's nice because there's a way to throw back. We wanted to relive part of college, and so it was great to do that. The drinking was new for us because we had played Fresh. Were drinking that year, but I still had a blast doing that.
I did not know that you could mod Smash, so you learn something new every day. So
This was the first Smash Brothers that you were able to mod. You'd be able to load an SD card into them, and you could mod the game, the characters, the abilities. There's actually a group of people under Project M that tried modding basically the characters in the game and reintroducing them. the goal was, it was called Project M. It was Project Melee. Essentially, it was to get this game to play faster, like Melee. So they did a lot of tweaking to the characters. They added in certain characters. So, like, for example, they separated out Charizard before Nintendo had the idea of doing it in the Wii U version. They changed some of the abilities that Charizard had. A couple of the characters had different abilities changed up too. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on with it that you were able to kind of change the game out, make it a little bit different. I don't know how far they ended up getting, but I remember them reintroducing a character that was removed from the Melee. Nobody else in the group has heard of it before.
Yep, I have.
And Brawl was one of those games that got the rare perfect score from Famitsu. Didn't know that either, but it sounds like that, Brawl, at least for some of us here, was one of those. It was the next entry in the Smash series was sort of take it or leave it, which is how I felt with the next game in the series, which was Smash for the Wii U and the 3DS. This was the Smash game that I personally have spent the least amount of time on. Partially because I never owned a Wii U, number one.
I spent a lot of time on the DS version of it.
I felt personally that Smash Brothers, to me, didn't feel right on such a tiny screen.
Just to give the little bit of thing, because I was looking it up. Project M that you were talking about, it gave Zero Suit Samus, Sheik, Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard their own slots on the character creation screen. Pokemon Trainer is no longer there. You could play as Giga Bowser or Wario Man as alternate forms of those two. They added back in Mewtwo and Roy, and that's where it was when the project was cancelled. Development builds indicated that they were working on 4 more characters before it was cancelled, being Knuckles from Sonic, Lyn from Fire Emblem, Isaac from Golden Sun, and Sammy from Advance Wars. None of which were in a playable stage when the game was cancelled, but all of which were in stages of being worked on.
It looks like they also updated some of the stages as well and brought some back.
Yeah, they updated a bunch of the stages, they rebalanced all of the characters, and they made a bunch of stuff. Basically they took Brawl and made it Melee.
Yep.
That's what they did. In every way they could.
Well, when people talk about this game as in the sort of multiplayer sense, they feel that Melee was the better game than Brawl. And again, not being a competitive gamer, I can't really tell the difference. So I don't know what the differences were, but anyone else have anything they want to say about Brawl, or we're just going to move into the Wii U?
If we're going to go historically, yeah, at this point I was just finishing college. So, I fell out of Smash in a big way at this point. Just because by this point, Smash Brothers had been soured because of the competitive group, because by this point, they were trying to take over. And they were succeeding, so it was becoming more and more competitive. And so that really soured it for me, and I had found myself having to back off more. I'm not happy this happened, it's just what seemed to have happened.
I mean, I can totally see that. I was just, again, me not being a competitive player to begin with, I never really paid attention to that sort of scene or anything like that. So, but you having experienced that just from the tail end of Melee, I can totally understand your reasonings for going sour on it. That's absolutely understandable. So, but I do remember you picking up Smash Brothers for the Wii U, because the first time I played it was at your house with 7 other players.
Yes, and that was something that I absolutely loved, was when the new Smash came out. I know the Wii U one didn't get as much credit because the Wii U just wasn't as popular as other systems at the time. I still really enjoyed playing the game because you could play it now with 8 people, and people could bring their own DS in order to play as a controller. They were doing some really nifty things with it that I tried.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, the DS, actually, I was skeptical about how it would work, and they actually released the DS version before they released the Wii U version. I actually didn't mind it on the DS. The only thing that kind of drove me a little crazy was that my hands would really cramp up if I played for too long. But once they released the the Wii U version, it was much nicer, and it looked clean and smooth, which obviously is an important thing for that game.
I really like the fact that, okay, yes, I didn't own a Wii U, so I picked up the 3DS version. I love the fact, though, that you could take the 3DS version and use it as an additional controller on the Wii U. I really like that, because that was how I was able to play with Wyatt at his place. It's like, because I didn't own a Wii U. I'm like, all right, I have my 3DS, we can connect it, and here we go. This becomes an additional controller.
The downside with it was, the only thing that I saw was a downside was certain characters, for example, ice climbers, had to be cut because they couldn't make it work. Because the 3DS would not be able to handle basically 4 sets of ice climbers on a screen, which is unfortunate, because I'm one of those people that I like you to give me what I had plus. So this is why I really like the one that's coming out, like the one that came out for Switch, because they gave you everything that you had. So, but yeah, I was a little disappointed to see that they kind of had to cut.
Yeah, I mean, just, again, another expansion of the roster. We've got 51 playable characters, and then this is also the first of the Smash games where you actually have DLC. Like, there are 7 characters that are DLC for Smash Brothers for the 3DS and the Wii U, but we start getting introductions for characters like the Villager from Animal Crossing, the Wii Fit Trainer, Pac-Man, the Mii Brawlers, Mega Man, Little Max. So we're just digging more into not only the third party, but more of maybe these little. Well, I wouldn't call them obscure. I mean, Animal Crossing is huge, but
Wii Fit Trainer is ridiculous.
Yes.
Duck Hunt's also ridiculous.
We're getting into more of the, I don't want to say ridiculous, but some of the more esoteric options of the Nintendo roster.
I think that's the right answer, yeah.
Yep. You also have to remember, this is the first version of the Smash Brothers game that actually has amiibo functionality too. They introduced the amiibos with this one, which I basically have all the Smash Brothers ones that have come out. They're actually right next to me right now. So you had that functionality added in too. But yeah, they did have some pretty interesting characters thrown into the mix here. It's also the comeback of Mewtwo.
Yes, you brought back Mewtwo. Somebody you just mentioned Duck Hunt. That is a character that still to this day, Duck Hunt. I get the whole like, where's my Nintendo Zapper? I want to kill you. Where's my NES Zapper?
Was this? Someone correct me on this. Was this the one where they introduced like random tripping to try and dissuade the competitive scene of the game?
Yes, this was the one they introduced tripping into, which drove me crazy.
What? I didn't even know that mechanic is. Again, just how little I played this. I didn't know that there was that mechanic was a thing.
To be fair, I don't think many people played this just because of how the Wii U was perceived and how poorly that console sold.
Yes. Let's see. It was.
Has anybody mentioned the 3DS version yet?
Yep.
Okay.
We're in the middle of talking about that right now.
I was about to say I caught a lot of people probably hadn't played it because of Wii U, but I mean the 3DS was one of the most bought handheld consoles ever. So,
Yep.
like, it definitely had an install base for that.
It absolutely did, and probably because Nintendo was absolutely hedging their bets because the 3DS version of the game came out first. It came out
Couple months before.
It came out October 2014 here, and then the Wii U followed about 6 weeks later in November 21st of 2014. So Nintendo definitely knew by that point that the Wii U wasn't selling as well as the 3DS. I mean, the 3DS is, king of the handhelds here. Although Switch might be knocking it off its throne before long. So, the amount of characters that... Where's my character list? There they are. Was the DLC... those were... You had to buy those? Or they were just downloads?
So I believe Mewtwo was the only one that you didn't have to pay for. If you bought both the 3DS version and the Wii U version, you were able to get Mewtwo for free. And then the remaining ones, I believe you had to pay. It was like a season pass. You paid for them. So you got Lucas, Roy, Ryu, Cloud, Corrin, and Bayonetta, and they came out about a year. Bayonetta was released about almost a year after the game came out, if I remember correctly. It took her a while to be released.
Yep. Bayonetta was the last of the DLCs, if memory serves.
Yes. Bayonetta.
And nobody expected Bayonetta.
Nobody expected Bayonetta, not at all. It was actually cool. I was actually really happy with that, her being the last announcement, because I think a lot of people were rumoring, who's going to be the last one. People were like, it's not going to be a really well-known, it's not going to be a Nintendo character, it'll be a third party. Because of Cloud and Ryu being introduced, they were hoping for another third party, and obviously, Platinum Games and Nintendo own Bayonetta now, so I thought she was a really nice addition. It actually made me want to go play Bayonetta after they announced that she was going to be the next one.
Great game.
Then the competitive scene has some opinions on Bayonetta for
they hated
Wii U.
her.
Yeah,
they hated her.
That's the point. That's the point I was trying to make.
She was really overpowered, and Sakurai basically didn't do any balancing after they released her. They kind of just threw her in, and she was really, really, really over.
Well, I mean, yes, I understand, why balance is important in a fighting game, but...
It's not like they hadn't banned people in competitive play before. I mean, Meta Knight, anyone?
Yep. They weakened the crap out of him in this game. He didn't play the way that he did in Brawl that he does in this one.
Yeah, because if he had, he would have broken the game in half.
Pretty much. It
would have been Bayonetta versus Meta Knight, and that would have been the game.
Final destination, no items.
Yep. This was also an interesting dual release because you had certain stages that were only available on one and certain stages that were only available on the other.
Brian?
Yep.
I had the worst thought. I really want them to take a character, probably Wario, and have one of his moves being able to pull out a random item so that no matter what, even if you're doing a competitive game with no items, this character can pull items out and fuck everything up. I want them to do that.
I like that idea. I like that. Good. Good.
I'm gonna send that to Nintendo. They'll totally listen to us.
What's Wario's down B currently in Ultimate?
Fart. The fart.
Hell, have him fart out an item.
There you go. There you go. Done.
It would make more sense to give it to like Game & Watch instead of get rid of his judge ability and just have it be a random item that pops into his hand. Or the villager, instead of being able to pocket items, he just produces items from his pocket.
He just digs an item out of the ground.
Yep.
Why not? It could work. It could work. So,
yep.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because for this game, it's the least that I played. I really don't have much to say about it. Like, the addition of the 8-character multiplayer, I thought was just a very, very nice addition, because 4 players wasn't insane enough. We had to double it.
Yep.
So, unless anyone else has anything to say on this, we will move into the most recent game.
That multiplayer mode, yeah, it was it was a novelty. I don't think it really played well. Like, I don't think 8 people... I don't think anything was designed well enough for 8 people. And yes, it's gonna be random, but honestly, I don't feel like it was anywhere near as enjoyable as 4-person Smash in any way.
It's hard to keep track of, especially when you had a bigger stage. It was hard to keep track of 8 people, especially like large stages. Like I think they added in, didn't they add that giant one in from Kid Icarus into this one?
Yes, and they had a giant one from that I love because of the spikes in the lower levels.
Yeah, it was Palutena's Temple and the Great Cave Offensive. They were just so big that if you had 8 people and like 2 of them were on one side of the screen duking it out, you couldn't see a single goddamn thing that was going on.
Oops.
Especially on the 3DS.
Yep.
That could get really harrowing in a hurry. And then, but by the same token, put 8 people on a really insane board. Like, let's have a 8-player versus battle on like Big Blue.
Yeesh.
So, we have that. So, moving on to the most recent game in the Smash franchise, which came out almost 2 months ago at this point now, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The pinnacle, the zenith, the Smash game to end all Smash games, with 76 characters. Good gravy.
And 120 stages, I think they said? 126 stages? I think we're up to now? Except for Poke Floats?
Yeah, there's at least 108 versus stages. I'm just looking at the gigantic list of all of the Smash stages, and where are we at? 76 characters, plus 2 DLC, 2 confirmed DLC. The first one being the Piranha Plant. That's if you either pre-ordered or bought the game early. And we have Joker. So, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate features...
Wait, 76?
It's,
I thought we were 70... I thought we were 75.
I count 78 if you're including the Pokemon Trainer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have the thing up. I'm actually going to look into that, because I'm like, I thought counting Piranha... I thought it was 74 plus Piranha Plant brought it to 75.
You know
At least
what?
That was everything I read.
You know what? I don't know if we're counting Echo Fighters or not, but the Echo Fighters are counted as one number, so if you're just doing a number, you might be short a couple characters.
Ah.
That is possible. But every single character from all of the Smash games before this and then some... And I have not even unlocked every one of them yet. I think I'm around 55 at this point. But like the choices, they're all over the place. We've got, I'm just looking at the list of new characters. We have Chrom from Fire Emblem, and Daisy finally makes an appearance. The Inkling from Splatoon. Everyone's favorite meme, Isabelle.
You know who doesn't make an appearance? Waluigi. Poor guy will always be an assist trophy.
Right now we are at 76 characters in Smash Brothers if you count Pokemon Trainer as 3 separate characters.
Okay, there
74 if you count them as 1 character, and then in either case you add the 2 DLC characters.
Okay.
Right. So, the amount of Isabelle memes I have seen in the last 2 months.
Oh boy.
I will tell you guys. Holy crap! The World of Light.
Yeah.
I have 100%ed the World of Light, and I have played more Smash Bros. At release than I have every other game in the franchise combined.
So let me ask you this, because I've also 100%ed it. Did you feel like, wait, there's more? Wait, there's more? Every time.
Okay, here's the thing. When I finished the initial World of Light, when I finished Gleam's section,
Sure.
before the World of Darkness, honestly, I was getting a little burned out on the fights, because, yes, the fights were entertaining, but a lot of them felt repetitive. When it went into the World of Darkness, I got a second wind, because I feel like the World of Darkness was far more creative than the World of Light was. And I honestly feel like I wish the entire game had been done like the World of Darkness.
So is this where Kefka is?
No.
Oh God.
I wish. And then the combined world, by that point, I'd gotten back into it enough that I was able to pound through that.
So,
but yes, no, there's always more. There's always more. It's like getting to the end. It's like getting to the top of the mountain in Breath of the Wild and going, oh wait, look at all of that out there I can go explore now.
Yep.
it's the Ronco of video. But wait, there's more. So, like, Wyatt, I think, unlocked all of the characters within the first day or two that he got the game.
Not true. It was only about a week or two.
Okay, because I know you mentioned that you had like very quickly unlocked everybody, just like plowed straight through.
I mean, there are different ways to do it. They gave you different methods of unlocking. You can do World of Light, obviously, and that unlocks all of them. And then there's a combination of doing challenge, the classic mode with certain characters to unlock other characters. It's like a chain unlock. And then you've got your regular Smash. You play the rounds, and then warning fighter approaches. In fact, I found out it's based on keystrokes. So I found out that if I would back out of World of Light, I would actually get a challenger approaches coming up. So what I would do is I would go out every like hour or so. I would go out, unlock a character, go back into the World of Light, and play some more. It's kind of a break from kind of doing it, but yeah, there was people that were like figuring out the fastest way to unlock based on all three of those methods, and I think the fastest way was either to do a combination of like World of Light and the classic mode. But yeah.
See, here's the thing. I started the game up. I went into the World of Light. And I didn't leave the World of Light for a week. So when I left the World of Light, I got unlock. Every time I did one thing, and then another unlock would happen.
Yep.
Because I had built up so much from the World of Light. I didn't know. I was just playing single-player mode. I didn't know about the spirit board at first. I swear to God, they're adding new stuff to it when I'm not looking.
They are adding new stuff.
Yeah, because I'll go into the game and I'll be like, and this is at the beginning, obviously, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know for a week the spirit board was a thing. Oh, there's a store in the vault? I didn't know that was it. And every time I'm just like, are they adding new modes? Because every time I look, there's something different.
Yeah, this game was massive. It was like trying to figure out where everything was, and they, to be fair, they were adding. I found out about it, so I wasn't. You were not crazy. They were adding stuff in on the back end, but it was just it's a lot of modes, a lot of different windows to go into and take a peek in, a lot of different stores. You got your spirit mode with your spirit board, your adventure mode. You've got your little shops that you unlock based on the World of Light and train characters. So they really went nutso with like basically all the modes in this.
This might be an unpopular line of thought on this, but I don't know if they can top this.
I agree.
Because I feel like anything more they do, like I feel like at this point we're on the edge of too much. Because too many options can make things difficult in its own way. And I feel like at this point, we're already at the edge of that. So I don't know how they top this, but I feel like if they take people away or go down from this, you're going to have an angry fan base. So I don't know how they win the next time they do a Smash game.
Well, when you have a game that bills itself as ultimate, you kind of think that this is it.
They might need to let Smash take a break for a while.
They might. Well, Mortal Kombat had that same problem. I forget which Mortal Kombat it was, but they had every single Mortal Kombat character up to that point and then some. And when it got to the point of thank you, again, ultimate in the title.
Yep.
When you have that type of game, it's like, okay, now what? So what did Boone and Tobias do? They rebooted the franchise.
Yeah, I honestly think that after this, we are not going to get a Smash game for quite some time. I feel like the series needs to get at least an extra couple years break on top of what they would normally have for development.
I would 100% agree with you. I think that they have topped themselves on this one. I remember watching, because I remember them having the Nintendo Direct to announce the Smash Brothers Direct and I was just like, they went through their little video, and I was like, oh, Luigi's in there, Mario, all the typical characters. Then all of a sudden, you freaking see, like, a character that's from Melee come back in, and I'm like, wait, what? And they have the Everybody's Here. They're not going to be able to do Everybody's Here again, because everybody was in the last one.
Oh my god, like that? Or how about the frickin', the Splatoon reveal trailer with the flaming Smash symbol in the background?
The initial reveal.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the Castlevania reveal with Luigi dying in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I was
this was like, from a marketing standpoint, holy crap, they nailed it out of the park with Smash Ultimate. Like, they knew how to use the internet and how to get the internet talking.
Yeah, they especially when they revealed Ridley finally.
Yep.
Like these Smash Directs and these Nintendo Directs, they're all taking place while I'm at work, so I can't watch them. But I have Twitter, and just watching the internet go apeshit, and then Ridley gets announced, and then explosions. Like Ridley, not being well versed in the Metroid series, I don't understand the massive hype over Ridley. But again, that's just me coming from a point of ignorance, not having played.
It's a giant fucking dinosaur. That's all there is to hype about it.
Also, it's basically like, well, Ridley is not the final boss. It's basically the recurring villain of it. It is Samus's personal villain because they have backstory tied together.
The closest analog would be, yeah, it would be like the villain before Ganondorf shows up for like Link and Zelda.
Yeah. Well, they needed to add another Metroid character in, and unless you want to add Kraid, which is a background in one of the stages, or Mother Brain, which is an assist trophy, which I don't really see how they would be able to do those two because they're actually. Ridley's big, but Kraid is freaking huge, and Mother Brain is also massive.
They're basically environmental at this point, those two.
Yep.
Like, they're their own levels. And there are other Metroid characters they could introduce. Honestly, with them adding Piranha Plant as a character, they could literally add a Metroid in.
Yeah.
They could have. They could have added Waluigi in too, but they're not going to do that.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying, there are other things they could do if they wanted to bring another Metroid character in.
Carlos, you're going to die on this hill, aren't you?
I'm going to die on this hill. I'm really disappointed that he's not in and he's an assist trophy.
There's still 4 more chances for you to be disappointed.
But I already know that I'm going to be disappointed, so I'm disappointed in advance.
And speaking of the DLC roster, oh my god, I was so goddamn hyped for Joker.
I will admit, seeing the reveal at the Game Awards thing was a nice reveal. It was just like, oh, why is Joker showing up? Wait, what do you mean? Why is Joker at the Game Awards to begin with? What the hell's going on?
At least for the Persona fan base, we all assumed this was the announcement for Persona 5R.
Yeah.
For the updated version, because they always do one. They'd already gotten the domain name for it, and we knew that. So everybody thought it was that. And then the Smash symbol coach.
Yeah, they get the Smash wax logo on the back of the envelope, and it's like, oh, wait, what?
They have done an amazing job with the character reveals in this. That was an excellent one. I also really, really enjoyed the K. Rool reveal, where they basically had Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong inside the building or whatever, and it's DDD playing a joke on them, and then all of a sudden K. Rool actually shows up behind them. So they've done a pretty good job kind of making you wonder, like, what's going on? Oh, wait, wait, really?
Okay, it's not quite the same thing. First of all, Isabel's reveal, but I loved the announcement for the new Animal Crossing, where you have oh crap, I can't remember his name, the raccoon.
Tom Nook?
Thank you. Where you have Tom Nook going, well, while everybody's out there smashing with each other, I guess I gotta make sure they have a good place to come home to. Animal Crossing 2019.
Yeah, they did a really good job. They've done a really good job with their marketing with these reveal trailers, trying to plug other games and kind of make you wonder what's actually going on. I really, 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 really enjoyed that they did that. So it's definitely been a fun couple of months watching Nintendo kind of milk this franchise for all its.
That's the thing. Every other Smash, we've always had the, oh my god, who's going to be in it? Oh my god, what's... Like, you have the fan base that really got into it every time. Ultimate is the first time I feel like Nintendo really bought into that themselves, where they were trying to build that hype up and not just let it happen. They did that a little bit with Smash 4, where they were doing the vote on who you'd like to see as the new character, but this is where they really just went all in on the we are going to take advantage of that hype that we get, and they absolutely frickin' did.
I guess
isn't it rumored currently because of Mortal Kombat 11 that both Mortal Kombat 11 and like a Mortal Kombat character is going to be showing up on the Switch now for as DLC?
I've heard rumors of it. I've heard rumors of it. Like I have a listing of characters in my brain that I think are likely DLC characters and unlikely DLC characters, and I think the Mortal Kombat one falls into that likely scenario.
If it's Scorpion and he's just gonna rip Mario's head off and have his like spine hanging out, that'd be pretty ridiculous.
Oh, God.
Here's the thing. There's 4 character slots left, and there's more than 4 franchises that likely could fill that spot. So even if something makes sense, that doesn't necessarily mean it's getting that slot. And I fully expect at least 1 or 2 of those slots to come from the unlikely section.
And I mean, you're probably definitely right on that. I mean, just like we have 4 slots left, so it's like, who gets those 4 slots? I mean, we all have.
Keep in mind too, this is also DLC Pack 1. There's probably going to be at least 2 more DLC packs.
Well, each DLC pack. So my understanding is, aside from the fact that we're trying to speculate here which ones there are, but each one is going to come with a stage tied to that character.
Yeah.
So and at least one song with that character too.
Yeah.
Right.
Music song, and we don't know if there's going to be spirits coming along with it.
Right. So I think the intent. I think what Nintendo has said is Joker is a taste of what they're planning on doing with the DLC. So to me, that says it's not going to be more Nintendo embedded franchise characters. So it's going to be franchises we have not seen in Smash Brothers yet, and that's how I'm understanding. Piranha Plant is an outlier. I really don't know who the hell thought that one up.
Piranha Plant wasn't DLC. Piranha Plant was the pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
He's going to be up as DLC afterwards, but that's just so you have access to the character if you didn't pre-order. Like, I don't consider that to say anything about the DLC.
Right, and I think Piranha Plant was more of a way of saying, hey, we didn't really get to finish Piranha Plant, but we want to release the game on time, so we're just going to lump them in a little later.
The one thing I will say, off of I think Ron's point a second ago, I believe, and I'll look it up myself, but I believe Sakurai has stated that they're only doing 5 characters and then the game is done. So if they end up doing more than that, awesome. That's fine. I'm on board with that, but I'm only assuming 5 for the DLC.
So they are only doing 5. So aside from Piranha Plant, there are only 5, including now Joker, who is one of them. There are only 5 other DLC packs that they're giving. So I mean, yeah, I personally think that they're going to have more Square Enix franchises included. That's my guess. If I don't see something from either Kingdom Hearts or something in there, I'm speculating something along that line.
I mean, my number one speculation, well, if we're on speculating mode, is Sora from Kingdom Hearts, alongside an announcement that they're going to bring the Kingdom Hearts collection over to Switch.
Yep,
with all the stuff that they've been doing and how Square Enix has created a division for working on Switch and bringing other titles to the Switch. I feel like them bringing the collection is a no-brainer, and I feel like having Sora in Kingdom Hearts is a no-brainer for them.
I would agree with you, and that's why I mentioned Kingdom Hearts as my.
And I'm not even a big Kingdom Hearts fan. I think that with it helps Nintendo. Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of the most hyped games ever at this point, and it'll be well. It's that hyped, Brian, whether it comes out or not.
Well, my initial thinking right now is, my thinking is Sora, I think, would make sense. It would fit with the play style and the design of Smash. I can agree that Sora would probably fit.
I mean, his game basically plays like a Smash Bros. Like how the characters play.
It does. I'm just throwing this out there. Mickey Mouse, like legitimately, just like straight to throw Mickey Mouse in Smash.
Hey, Epic Mickey.
Yep.
And I personally am a huge fan of Epic Mickey. So I would absolutely love if they introduced Mickey and then had like Oswald as another costume for him.
Or they could so I'm wondering. He says that there's only going to be 5 new DLC characters, but he never specifies whether they're going to include Echo characters. So I'm kind of curious about that.
That's
because Echo characters aren't really their own character. I mean, they are. They play slightly differently, but they're pretty much the same character.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think Mickey is let's put it this way. Anything is possible, but I think that's more on the less likely train, because Disney closed down its game division. The Epic Mickey games did well, but not exceptionally, and it's been quite some time.
Well,
and yes, they're connected to Kingdom Hearts in that, but I feel like Sora is far more likely than Mickey.
I agree. There's also Yokai Ghost, I think. Is that Nintendo?
Yokai Watch. Oh, I would love if they put in Yokai Watch.
Is that Nintendo or is that someone else?
It's Nintendo.
Nope, that's Nintendo. It's like with Pokemon, where it's Nintendo, but it's another company with Nintendo.
Yeah.
I believe it's level 5 is Yokai Watch with Nintendo. Don't quote me on that. I'm going to look it up right now.
all right. So, Wyatt, you've been quiet for a while. You have anything else you want to throw in on your on Smash Ultimate here, as we're all prognosticating?
Well, I think I like Smash Ultimate. I really like. I'm trying to figure out as my new kind of favorite set of rosters. So I love King Dedede because I realize after competitive, I just like having fun. King Dedede is one of those guys that when you hit with him, the entire level goes to hell. Like, you just need 1 or 2 hits, and everyone just starts screaming bloody murder. So I really enjoy that as a character because it livens it up.
Agreed.
So I like him. I like Cloud Strife just because I like the limit break mentality, and I haven't mastered it by any stretch, but I really like how there's some really interesting ways to play the game now, even more than there was previously. So this is all positives. I like that they somehow seem to have found a middle ground for now between that competitive group and the casual group, because they were able to revamp a lot of the personal abilities and a lot of the personal stacks to balance it, as well as add new things in. So a lot of people have been saying this game is dense, so they're not yet sure whether or not they think it's perfect for us or not. For the competitive crowd, but it might be, and I think that's a really cool thing to see going on, and I'm very happy with it.
I think that the competitive, there were some interviews with the competitive crowd like a week and a half after the game came out, and these are like some of the top players, and they were talking about how the game is definitely an improvement over Smash 4 and Melee, or Smash 4 and Brawl, but that it still wasn't as complex as Melee, and they didn't see the big tournaments switching over. I feel like if Nintendo did what some of the other companies did, and actually did one or two big tournaments and actually put some money on the line for it, they could get it switching over. But I feel like in a year or two, I don't feel like Nintendo's going to do that. I think they should, but I feel like in a year or two we're going to see that the competitive scene is still going to mainly be Melee.
Okay, so I mean,
which I think is a loss.
That to me begs the question, though. So we have a series that is 20 years old. Actually, today is January 19th. It turns 20 on Monday. It's so
what you're saying is you did this podcast early.
By 2 days. So
shame on you.
I know. I'm sorry. It's a happy birthday. So. What is it about Melee that is the gold standard competitive game in the Smash series?
Glitches.
I mean, this is an honest question because again, not a competitive gamer. It's like, what is it about Melee? This 18-year-old game that is still the gold standard as opposed to the games that have come after it. Let
me break down what I understand of it, and then Wyatt can probably fill in the gaps because he probably understands it better than I do. But when Sakurai designed Melee, he intended to make it a more complex game. He intended to have more depth than the previous game did. But in his opinion, going forward from that, he had added too much depth to the point that it became too complex or too complex for the casual person. The game is definitely faster and more fluid, but it is, for a lot of people, harder to keep track of things that are going on. The game is very, very... It is very easy to control to the last frame everything you do, and because of that, there are several glitches that the fan base has found out between wave dashing and Z canceling, and several other things that really are glitches in the game, but they add a whole new level of depth in learning how to master these tiny glitches that give you a huge advantage, or a minor advantage, but a huge advantage compared to other people if you know how to do them and use them properly. And Sakurai deliberately, after this, moved away from that. And the current one, Smash Ultimate, is closer to Melee than the other ones have been, but it's part of why I don't think they're going to move on from Melee unless Nintendo makes some overtures on its own, because they're never going to make a Smash like Melee again, because the things the competitive scene likes in Melee, Sakurai sees as mistakes.
Interesting. I just was curious as to why Melee was the gold standard despite the 3 games that have come after this, because, I mean, I find Ultimate to be an amazing game. We're talking about Ultimate, Smash as a franchise has sort of reached the pinnacle here. That sort of, now what? So it's
we see, Ultimate has more characters, more of all these things, except for the one thing that the competitive fan base cares about the most, which is mechanics. Mechanically, Melee is the most complex, and it has been brought down from there deliberately because it was viewed that was not great for the casual audience, and they're right. But because of that, it means that, every game gives more. None of them do what Melee did because they are not doing what Melee did anymore.
Ah, okay. Got it.
So can I bring up one thing?
Sure. We're going to be winding this down in a few minutes, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the single most frustrating thing in Smash Ultimate, and that is that goddamn Rosalina unlock stage.
Oh god.
Not Rosalina, I'm sorry. God, why can't I remember her name? No, it is Rosalina. No. Pauline.
Yes. Yes.
There we go. Sorry, not Rosalina. Pauline. And I love Rosalina, but I don't know why I said her name. That stage is the bane of my existence. I had to leave that stage and come back to it multiple times throughout the game, and it ended up being one of the last stages I completed in World of Light.
So that one, I had to figure out a way to get rid of Donkey Kong in order to even get anywhere near Peach, because it was just impossible. Impossible on that stage to do anything when the stupid vaults or wherever they are coming through.
Mm-hmm. See, I had more issues with Mario than Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong was slow enough I could keep ahead of him, but Mario just fucked my shit up.
Yeah, I think I ended up using Marth, or somebody has a counter and just kind of chilling in the corner and kind of like knocking them off to get rid of them quick.
I had my own little challenge of I started the World of Light using Kirby, and he's the only character I played the entirety of the World of Light.
And Kirby's one of the weakest characters in the game.
I beat the entire World of Light using only him, holy crap, it made levels like this hard.
I think they balanced him a lot better than what he was, but he's definitely not weak. But yeah, that one's a horrible.
I thought he was mid-range.
Yeah, I think he
definitely isn't great for levels where you have to move super fast.
Yeah, he's kind of middle of the pack. Last Smash Brothers, he was kind of at the bottom of it. Yeah, that one was a bad one. The one with the boss, the Metal Gear boss that's over in the jungle area, was also really bad. It's the one with Zero Suit Samus and the poison.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The boss.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the thing, too, is, like, you just equip the immune to poison, then at that point, it's just a skill battle of just not being a goddamn idiot against fighting Zero Suit Samus, who loves the dive kick.
Yep. That one never bothered me that much. I know a bunch of people had issues with the Jeff battle from Earthbound. I didn't have issues with that one. The other one that was really bad for me was the Sheriff.
The Sheriff is a goddamn annoying one because of the fact that the bullets... the bullets are annoying. The really annoying thing is the Galaga thing.
Yep.
You're talking about the 9 volt and 5 volt one?
Yes, the 9 volt 5 volt fight. Sorry, not the Sheriff himself.
Yeah, so I ended up putting an assist killer on there because I just couldn't deal with that stupid sheriff.
I threw assist killer on, I meddled myself.
Yeah.
And I threw something else on, and I literally just went up and just took the shots to the face and just kept hitting the sheriff until he died, and then
you shot the sheriff is what you're saying?
Yes, I shot the sheriff.
Oh, nicely done. Nice little wedge in there.
So, yeah, for me personally, I beat that stage by actually ignoring the sheriff and Galagaing one of the baddies or one of the foes, and then I think I final smashed the other one off because I took that much damage in the stage in the meantime.
I tried to ignore the sheriff. It was just, and maybe it was just because I was playing Kirby and he's not the fastest character, but it was way too hard to fight the two characters while the sheriff was throwing stuff at me. I had to get rid of the sheriff first.
I mean, that's totally fair. So now that we have 20 years of Smash, this game just came out 2 months ago. I really, for me personally, I would not mind if Smash takes a break. I know it's one of Nintendo's biggest sellers, but again, when you have a name like Smash Ultimate, that tells me in my head that this is it. We're not getting Smash ever again, but, cash cow and all that.
It would be interesting with the last Smash games. I absolutely severely doubt that. But I mean, it came out at the beginning of the Switch's life cycle, and I think the Switch is going to have a longer life cycle than most Nintendo consoles.
Yes,
because I expect to have an upgraded re-release at some point, which they have been doing with all their handhelds. And I could see the next Smash being at the end of the next console, which would give a good at least 8 years in between this and the next one.
I mean, and we certainly have plenty of time to go on. The last thing I will say about Smash Ultimate, this happened about a month ago. Mutual friend of Wyatt and I, our friend James and Mary, they were up in this area, so they gave me a surprise visit. And so I immediately put a controller in James's hand and said, play. So... And, James hasn't had a Nintendo console in a good long while. So, he and I are playing Smash, and so is Mary. So, then I play, I select the stage, I select the Midgar stage. And he looks at me and goes, is Cloud in this game?
I remember that moment. That was great.
Is Cloud in this game? And I'm just like, well, the Midgar stage is in this game, so by process of... I haven't unlocked Cloud yet, but this was the first time I was playing on the Midgar stage, and I did not know that you have materia floating around.
Yep.
So... I grab one of the summon materia, and the look on James's face and my face when suddenly Bahamut just shows up.
Yep.
Was priceless.
Actually, this is something I don't actually know. Brian, or any of you,
So
can you turn materia on as a regular item, or is it only on that
No.
stage?
Only Midgar, as far as I'm aware.
it's only on that stage, and you can't shut it off. It's part of unless you do like the
Battlefield or Final
yeah,
Station
exactly.
settings.
So if you do the regular version of the stage, you can't shut that off. You can shut off all items, but that one will still show up.
I really wish they would add that in as an actual item, because holy crap, I would love to play just Pokeballs and materia.
I'm sorry, didn't you get that program in that every stage is dividable by Odin? Was Zen to Zen.
Point taken.
Oh, but that was...
But come on, that would be hilarious.
So not only do you have your summons from Final Fantasy, but then, here's some Pokemon just wrecking shit up, and just like...
I say, or it gives Odin a different attack if it's not on the Midgard stage.
So,
Which is also a thing they could do.
all right. So now that we have gone over an hour here on this second half, so just some final thoughts on the Smash series as a whole. I mean, Wyatt, your article was an excellent roundup of your associations and your memories. 20 years of this franchise being a part of our lives, and so it's like, just where do you think? I know that you fell out of favor with Smash after Melee, but it sounds like that Ultimate's bringing you back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I always like having a Smash for when people come over, but the one thing I'll mention is that now that it's 20 years old, actually, I have a hard time getting people to play. So, like, one reason why I always made sure I had a Smash in my house was because I knew it was always a go-to game. People wanted to play it. However, because of some of the bad blood that's formed up, I have a harder time getting people to play it. So I have it, and I'm like, hey, you're over. Do you want to play a few rounds? And I have a lot of people say, nah, I got trashed in college, and I don't want to try it. And that's a shame. And I hope people can learn from this in future games as they're revealed as competitive, as I think we've already spoken about quite a bit. I think that's very important for us as gamers to really get right.
I feel like that's a thing that happens in every fighting game. Like, part of the reason why I don't play the fighting game genre is I'm not a super competitive person, and unless you sit down and, like, I played Mortal Kombat and I played Street Fighter, and you wanna know how I play those? I know a single character. I don't know any moves for any other character, but I learned that one character just so I could play with other people. I know.
And that's fine. I think the reason why it's more... what's the word? The reason why I think it's more indicative when you're playing Smash is because Smash was created with that idea of, yes, it's for everyone. Everyone get in here. So that's one reason why it stands out more like a sore thumb. Hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. No, it makes perfect sense. And it shouldn't be that way. But... but I'm just saying, this is indicative, like, Smash Bros. It may pop out more, but this is indicative of the whole fighting game genre and community itself, but it's like the Gillette ad with toxic masculinity going, this is an issue, it's a systemic issue, but it's going to take a long time to fix the culture. And I feel like if fighting games ever want to grow, we're going to need to learn how to be more accepting, but that's something that's got to come from the fan base. But Smash can be where it starts.
Culture in general is a very weird thing in the environment of competitive video gaming. It's this very
weird,
insular. I want to say is probably the word I'm trying to think of. Like, it's very insular, and then when players find their game or find their genre, they just defend it to the death and don't want to admit the flaws in the game. And
not only are they, as you said, not admitting the flaws of the game, they actively push people away from the game, and they seem to revel in how difficult some of these games are to understand.
Yeah.
Like, it makes them special and better because they understand this better than you.
Yeah, and it generates, from an outsider's perspective, this sense of, almost, I don't say entitlement, but like, you don't have the right street cred to be respected, and because of that, no one's going to give you the time of their day to help improve your gameplay or whatnot, or to train with you. There's no incentive to teach someone the mechanics. It's just punish you for not knowing them.
We have professional baseball players who will go out and have things at Little Leagues and will encourage people and will do a lot of positive things for other sports. And I hate sports, and I could go on a whole podcast about the negative sides of it. But you want to know what? The culture in general sports has the professionals not looking down on other people that are interested in the sport.
Yeah, because a lot of the professional sports have gone through the growing pains that
video games are going through now.
Yeah, and a lot of modern day sports realize that, encouraging the young fan base and being helpful and excited and being like, oh look, you threw the ball, if you hold the ball this way, you'll get a better spin on it, or if you swing the bat in a particular different direction, you'll get a more satisfying crack on the bat and probably send it flying further too. It is this teaching lesson and inclusivity that encourages the younger fans to A, be excited about the game, B, want to stick with it, and C, grow the genre for future generations.
Well, that's the thing. If you are pushing people away from that game, you're not going to have an audience eventually. You're going to make it so exclusive that nobody's going to want to play it, and if nobody wants to play it, they're generally not going to want to see it played either.
Yeah.
And I think the issue in video games is video games, for the most part, are so ephemeral as it is, and we move from one competitive game to another, with exceptions. There are a couple who've stood this test of time, but generally they don't have to worry about that, because by the time that fan base goes away, they're going to be moving to another game anyways. But still, that's why you need to look at it as not, oh, this individual fighting game. It's fighting games as a whole for that. And that's where I land on this whole thing.
My own perspective on this whole thing is just like, alright, fuck it, I'm still gonna play anyway, regardless of my skill level. I don't play competitively. I have no desire to play competitively, so I'm just going to have as much fun with my friends as possible. The end.
I suppose with this whole thing that we were just saying, like, video games have had the unique opportunity as a new stage of media that shares its moment in time with the rise of the internet, where we've been able to stave off a lot of the things that have happened with older forms of media. We're able to get ahead of game preservation, so we don't lose years worth of work the way movies have, the way we have with the stuff back in the in the turn of the century in the 20s. Because we've been able to go, we know this is going to happen, and as it's going, we're going, no, we're going to do this. We're going to keep this in mind. I feel like the fighting game scene could skip or could at least move through these growing pains faster if they would look at what regular sports had to go through to get to where they are. But
if they weren't feeling as entitled idiots that they tend to be.
Yeah. For all of you fighting game professionals out there who hate everything we've said, you can contact us at downloadable content.
You can send your hate mail to Wyatt. You can send your hate mail to Ronald.
Oh, good. That's exactly what I need in my life. Is hate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Well, you know, for 20 years, the series has done very, very well for itself. And that is just going to continue, especially with how popular and as successful the Switch has been and continues to be. This thing is still printing money for Nintendo. We may wind up with a situation like the GameCube had, where the people, like, the number of Smash Ultimate owners as a percentage of Switch owners is going to be astronomical. I think it definitely has that potential. So, you know, the series has come a long way in 20 years, and now we're looking at this going, now what? But, you know, I'm perfectly content for Smash to, you know, just enjoy what we have for a while, and let's go crazy when the remaining DLC characters are announced. And Shovel Knight better be one of them, damn it. So, if anyone else has anything to say, then pipe up. If not, I'm going to put this to bed.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up Shovel Knight being a assist trophy earlier.
Yeah, because I want Shovel Knight to be an actual character.
It's like he said, you can be disappointed for the next 4 DLCs.
All right, I will. I can be disappointed. That's fine.
I was gonna say, I was super excited that I got both my Ashley assist trophy and my Ashley getup for the Mii fighters.
So yeah, I want Shovel Knight as a playable character. I mean, it's perfectly willing, and you know,
if you get Shovel Knight, I better get Shield Knight.
Shield Knight's probably the final Smash.
Okay.
Maybe.
Fine.
Maybe.
Ruin my fun.
So if you out there on the internet have any questions, comments, thoughts, memories of Smash Brothers gone by that you want to share with us, you can get a hold of us at www.dlcpodcast.com. Every single episode can be found there, as well as iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. Take a look, find out when we're recording, let us know if you want to be on, and it's all right there for you at your fingertips. So that is going to do it for us as we start season 9 of this crazy series that I didn't think would last this long, but here we are. So all it remains for me to do is to thank Ron, Ronnie, Wyatt. Go check out Sprites and Dice. Spritesanddice.com for all the not just video game but also board game stuff that goes on over there. Also, thank you to Carlos. Hope we didn't scare you too badly. Hopefully you'll be on more episodes.
I will be around.
Awesome. On that fun note, I am Brian. Have a good one, everybody.